New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani says if he cannot tax the wealthy, then he will tax regular everyday citizens to the tune of a 9.5% property tax increase. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani saying that if he cannot tax the wealthy, and when he says wealthy, he means those who make more than $1 million per year and corporations. If he can't tax them, then he will institute a 9.5% personal property tax increase on all New York City residents. So what does this mean? The wealthy may say, you know what? I don't want to get taxed that crazy amount. I don't want to have to pay more than what I'm paying. I'm going to leave. When they leave, you're going to have a big piece of the tax base that just vanishes overnight. So all these lofty goals and dreams that Zohran has, free this and all that will go out the window. And then the poor population won't be able to contribute. They're not going to pay taxes anyway. So all you're going to do is squeeze the middle class with that very high property tax rate because they probably can't leave. So are you going to have a more affordable, as you said, New York City, Zohran, or is it going to be much more expensive with fewer services and an overall a decline in the quality of life? Now, before I go any further, let's get to a few videos. Of course, I will link to everything in the description box if you want to see it and hear it without my commentary. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
For those who have watched budget after budget, it is tempting to assume that we are engaging in the same dance as our predecessors. Let me assure you, nothing about this is typical. That's why our solutions won't be either. There are two paths to bridge this gap. The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path. This is the path of ending the drain on our city and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. The onus for resolving this crisis should not be placed on the backs of working and middle-class New Yorkers. If we do not fix this structural imbalance and do not heed the calls of New Yorkers to raise taxes on the wealthy, this crisis will not disappear. It will simply return, year after year, forcing harder and harsher choices each time. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
Again, 9.5% increase in property taxes if he cannot tax the wealthy. All right, let's keep on going here. Now, here's a brief breakdown on some of the numbers, some of the budget issues, because the issue is right now they have a 2.2 billion budget shortfall, and next year it'll be a 10.4 billion budget shortfall for a grand total of 12.6 billion. And that number sounds very familiar. We'll get to that a little bit more a little bit later.
I had two questions also. One of the ways you're balancing the budget, as you've said, is to pretty significantly draw down these reserves. They're, generally intended for even more dire times than this one, perhaps, like a recession. I'm just wondering if I know this is just your first offer and there's a negotiation coming, but how committed are you to drawing down the reserves as substantially as you have in this? And my second question is, when do your labor negotiations start, and have you budgeted any kind of placeholder for that?
So I'll start with the first question. If we can actually bring the slide back to this, exactly, right here. So what the second path forces us to do is to utilize the rainy day fund and the retiree health benefits trust reserve. Now, as you can see in fiscal year 28, we do put investments back into those very reserves because we want the city to be on firm financial footing. However, there is a reason that we did not include these in our city's attempts to get to 5.4 billion, because these are the rating of reserves that we do not want to pursue. These are the kinds of reserves that what we would rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap on both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raid the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
All right, so there we go. That's the explanation a little bit. Now, here's something I wanted to show you guys because this is a pretty crazy statistic. Okay, now look. How is it that the entire state of Florida has a lower budget than New York City. The entire state and the population, 23 million people in Florida, only 8.5 million in New York City. Now, some of y'all going to say, well, New York City is not Florida. I understand that. But look at the numbers. 8.5 million people compared to 23 million people. It doesn't take that much. You know, all these services, all this stuff, it don't take that much to run New York City. I know it's highly condensed. People in one area, you got a lot of services, but still, that's just really crazy. I think what's happening here is he is spending too much. He is spending entirely too much money. That's the ultimate problem. Now, let's keep going here. Okay, here's an article from New York Post. You see what it says? Zoran is going to have $127 million budget, up $11 billion, not $11, up $11 billion from this year. Now, again, remember that number, the 12.6 billion budget shortfall. He's going to spend 11 billion more from this year. Like, what's going on? Okay, and then again, there's that 9.5% property tax hike right there. Just so you know, I'm not making it up. This is right on New York Post. Okay, now let's keep going. We got something else to show. This is going to be Eric Adams in 2023, and I covered this video back when he said it. He was warning about a potential 12 billion budget shortfall because of the migrant crisis. Because remember, they got a lot of migrants during Biden's term, and it cost them billions of dollars. Now, I'm not sure if the current budget shortfall is as a result of this, but what I do know is that Zoran still wants to have 1.2 billion to spend on migrants now. Like, he wants 1.2 billion of new spending to spend on migrants. Let's watch this clip from 2023. Check it out.
We turned this city around in 20 months. And then what happened? Started with a madman down in Texas decided he wanted to bus people up to New York City. 110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. And this team here, we stated, let's do everything possible before we have to push it out into neighborhoods and communities. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you. Well, we're here. We're here. We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut every service in this city.
Pause. You said it right there. We're going to have a $12 billion deficit. And where are we at right now? A $12.6 billion deficit. Now, the deficit can be fixed if they stop the spending, but I digress.
It's going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000, and I'm telling you now with 110,000. The city we knew, we're about to lose.
There we go. So again, this is 2023. Eric Adams, then mayor of New York City, warning that they would face a $12 billion budget deficit. And now we get a $12.6 billion budget deficit. Again, $2.2 billion this year and $10.4 in 27. Now, as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to New York City. Hopefully you guys can stop all the spending because it's ridiculous. You guys are spending too much money. That's the bottom line. You're spending too much money. Now, I think Zohar wants to reduce the spending after this big budget deficit to 12.6. Yeah, of course, because that, in my opinion, might be the migrant carryover. In order to have city services be the same as they were before, it's going to take a whole bunch of money. That's just the bottom line. Now, I think they could do it in a more efficient manner. Again, the whole state of Florida, the entire state, you're talking about 10 billion less than New York City. I want someone to explain that to me. It doesn't make much sense. Reduce the spending and you won't have to squeeze the middle class for more and more and more cash that they don't have. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Zohran Mamdani's plan to hike up the property tax rate by 9.5% and or taxing the wealthy? Will it work? Will it be effective? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. He should just stop the spending. It's too much spending, too many services. That's just the bottom line. You got to do that. And also, the migrant spending, it shouldn't be no more migrant spending. Listen, the border is closed. It shouldn't be any more migrant spending. Now, of course, that 1.2 is a lot less than that 12 billion or so number that's kicking around that they spent on the migrants during Biden's term. It's less, but still, it shouldn't be any migrant spending. And if he's talking about 1.2 billion in migrant spending and raising taxes, then obviously he's raising taxes to pay for the migrants, whether it's the 12.6, that's the migrant cost, or the 1.2, or a combination. We can see what's going on here. And if I was a resident of New York City, I would not like this one bit. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.